Hello everyone. In this video, I'd like to talk about Apple's recent growth, especially with its business in wearables. Some people these days pose questions about Apple's business, whether its business is stagnant and not growing anymore. I mean, if you look at different models of iPhones, they all look pretty much the same. And if you look at iPhone's quarterly revenue from 2012 to 2019, if you average the trend, it's not growing as much. And given that iPhone has been increasing its price, the actual shipment might be decreasing actually. So I had the same question of whether Apple's business is not growing anymore, but rather staying stagnant. But if you actually look deeper into Apple's revenue, then you can see that Apple has been trying really hard to diversify their revenue sources. On the left side, we have these two pie graphs showing how much Apple's revenue source changed from 2018 first quarter to 2019 last quarter. You can see that the percentage of revenue coming from the iPhone has decreased from 70% to 52%, while the revenue sources from other sectors such as service or others have increased significantly. And you can see that point on the right graph as well, where it's showing dramatic increase in revenue in the service sectors and also the other products. Here are the other products as shown in the picture below includes the AirPods and Apple Watch. So let's look deeper into these. So let's quickly touch base on what is the Apple service business. This is comprised of App Store, iTunes, Apple Music, iCloud, Apple Care and Service Parts, Apple Pay, and other new services like Apple TV or Apple Movies, Apple Books. And essentially how these businesses contribute to the revenue and profit is because it has so much higher gross margins. I mean, even App Stores, iCloud, Apple Pay, they all enjoy very high gross margin, above 75%. And the majority, which is coming from the App Store, is possible because whenever you pay to download certain apps, or whenever you make in-app purchases, part of that money goes back to Apple. And Apple takes about 20 or 30% of that revenue from the app purchases, which is really contributing to their revenue source. To be honest, I'm actually more interested in Apple's recent growth in wearables, especially AirPods. So this graph is basically summarizing from the launch of new products of AirPod, Apple Watch, iPhone, iPad. What was the growth in shipments, the units of shipments for the first 4 years? And you can see that AirPod has been growing rapidly, even showing the growth patterns just like how iPhone did initially. And even though the last bar graph on AirPod is still the estimate, but if you conservatively assume that still 80 millions of units of AirPods will be sold, that's still a significant growth. The surprising thing about this growth especially is that There was so much criticism at first, especially on Apple's first movement to remove the headphone jacks. And when this AirPod came out first, there were so much jokes and criticisms around its appearance. People saying that, oh, I'm buying $200 worth of a small hairdryer. Or when I actually put it into my ear, it just looks like my electronic toothbrushes stuck in there. So there were a lot of criticism about this Apple's movement being too arrogant and really ignoring consumers' needs. But even with these early criticisms, Apple proved itself that it was eventually right. I mean, these AirPods are not cheap. Even the baseline model at least costs $150. And the most recent edition, which are AirPods Pro, costs almost $250. But people still buy them a lot. So if you multiply price times quantity, you can get revenue. It's a basic knowledge on economics. And you can basically expect dramatic growth in revenue from the wearable units that could complement stagnancy or even the loss in iPhone revenue. So given how I learned that Apple tried really hard to diversify their revenue source and eventually succeeded, even with early criticisms about its new product like AirPods, I'm really curious what Apple is working on for the next big thing and next revenue growth source. Would that be something related to virtual reality, augmented reality, or something related to flexible screens, just like how Samsung came out with its new phones? I'm really curious about their next product, and I really look forward to them. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll definitely come back with more exciting tech news and more information about tech products. Thank you.